Eddie, good to see you. Obviously, it's been a pretty crazy couple of days after what happened at the weekend. Now the dust settled, how are you feeling about everything regarding, first of all, the goalkeeper situation?
Yeah, feeling disappointed for Nick. That was my whole emotion really after the game and yesterday. You know, someone who's given his, as I said after the game, is all for the team. He's been outstanding this year, so I felt for him. But also pleased for another goalkeeper gets an opportunity, and I think we have to be very positive about our situation, about the game. Yes, it's a blow to lose Nick, but we still believe in the team and the group that we have.
I guess that's why you've got 4/5 goalkeepers and they have to be ready to come in. Have you had individual conversations with the two that remain?
Well, that's exactly why you have a squad of goalkeepers, and to have a goalkeeper of Loris's experience and Mark's experience, that they're both played a lot of football in their careers, so I've got no doubt about their match fitness, as I said, because of the way that they train. Yes, I've had conversations with both players, and they're in a good place.
Loris was, I think he was away at the weekend, wasn't he? He's back now. What have those early conversations been like, and do you feel he's in a confident place to come in should you select him?
I think those conversations are the type of conversations that I'd have with him on a regular basis. How is he? How does he feel his training going? Are we giving him everything he needs to be the best that he can be? And he's a very likeable, laid-back character, as I've said. I've got no doubts on his confidence levels. He seems very relaxed and excited, as Mark is, about what lays ahead.
What sort of work do you need to do maybe differently or additional to what you would normally do? Because obviously the defence has been very well drilled all season. You've made very few changes, but probably the main player of that five is about to be changed. So what kind of changes and what kind of work do you have to do this week to ensure that the defence is in as best condition as possible going into the game?
We work with a lot of rhythm anyway and a lot of structure, so our work won't change. It will just have different personnel in it, but the work itself is very consistent, and I believe in that from a defensive perspective. I don't believe in change. I think you have an idea of how you defend as a team, and then depending on personnel you work the same way, and this season as a team we've defended brilliantly. Okay, we had a challenge against Liverpool, and they unpicked us a couple of times, but that's been really unlike us this season, so we go to work normally this week.
Are you confident that Loris has put behind him what happened 5 years ago in the Champions League final? Because he hasn't played, he's played a bit at Besiktas, but he hasn't played too much, certainly since he left Besiktas. Are you confident that he's put that bad day behind him?
I've never really discussed that at any length with him. I think we've all got stuff that's happened in our careers and our histories that you learn from, and I think he's no different in that respect. So as I said, since day one, since he's come here, he started where he hadn't had a lot of work before joining us. He's trained with our goalkeeper coaches in a really, really good way, and I think his general performances at training have improved as he spent more time with us, and I think he's in a good place, and I think he's ready to play.
Are you personally happy that the final is here now, because it's kind of been bubbling along in the background for a number of weeks now? Are you happy that you've got that now to focus on, and all minds are now on Sunday? Yeah,
I'm pleased the game's here. I think it's been a difficult few weeks for us because the talk has been about it, even though it's been 2-3 games down the line for us. And as much as we've tried to focus on what lay ahead, naturally I think the more probably the players I spoke to, it's not an issue for me, but the players I spoke to about lots of different situations, it can only be very much in your eye line. So we want the game, we're desperate to play in it, we're desperate to do well and do the club proud, and we're pleased it's here.
We're obviously here on Tuesday speaking to you, a long week to go until Sunday. It looks like you want to get the media running out the way and concentrate on the game. What does the week look like for yourself and the players in the build-up to Sunday in terms of what you'll be doing and your travel arrangements?
I'd never say I want to get the media out of the way, Keith. I'd never be that rude. But keen to get the majority of my work done that's not focused on the game, put away quite quickly, so I can focus on the football and the tactical side of the game. It will be a normal preparation in terms of our training week. Lads trained really well today. We'll make our way to Wembley as we would do the day before a game, and hopefully settle in quickly and get used to the surroundings.
Thanks, Keith. Timeties?
Hi Eddie. Just following up on the goalkeeping questions there, have you kind of decided who your goalkeeper is going to be, and have you told that player?
No, I think I'm very much of the mindset that I'd like to see training and like to watch and observe the players before picking the team. That would be my normal process. I'd never pick the team 4 or 5 days before the game. Players always have an opportunity to change your mind and force you into a change of perception.
How are you feeling sort of now that the game's here? Do you sense the excitement that's around the town?
Difficult because I'm not sort of sampling that. I've sensed sort of the excitement around the game for the last 2-3 weeks. Well, I've tried to keep my emotions in check and focus on the fundamentals about how we're going to play, and that won't change for me. So I'm pleased the game, as I said earlier, is here, and I feel the players will be ready by kick-off.
Do you allow yourself that moment to sort of imagine what it will feel like to win at Wembley?
I haven't done yet. I'll let you know if I do before the game. At the moment, it's an intense week when you're building up to any game, yet alone a cup final game, because there's a lot of these things that you have to do that takes your time and energy. So I'm excited by the training week. I love being on the training pitch with the players, and we'll try and get all our preparations right.
I would imagine when you came to Newcastle and had conversations with the owners when you first started, this was obviously part of the plan, you know, getting to cup finals, potentially winning trophies. Are you surprised by how quickly it's come around?
I think we hoped. You always hope before a season that you can have a successful season, and I think we wanted to take all the cup competitions seriously that we're involved in. Now we've had success in this one, we didn't in the FA Cup, but I believed that the squad was good enough to mount a challenge to potentially win a competition. We've got this far, we've got to the final, which is a great step really, and I think we'd love to go one step further and actually claim the silverware.
And just a word on Man United, what sort of threat will they pose? Because their form just seems to get better and better with each game.
Yeah, we're playing a team very much in form. They've got some very good players. I think the manager's done a brilliant job in building momentum and turning the team around from a difficult place. We know that we're going to have to be at our very best and embrace the occasion and hit our top levels to win.
Thanks. Andrew,
Eddie, hi there. Optimism levels have fallen away a little in the last few days. What can you give us fans to assure us that we should stay optimistic?
Well, I always believe in being positive and optimistic. I don't, as much as I'm very, very driven every day, and you know, I always have to see warning signs and difficult moments ahead in my job. I still always have a very positive outlook, embracing all of that. So I believe we can win any game in the Premier League against any team, home or away, if we're absolutely at our best. And I think we've proved that this season when we have been. We've beaten some really good teams and we've been very consistent with our form. So I think we believe the power is in our hands, and it's up to us to perform at those best levels.
68 years since we won a domestic trophy. How conscious are you of that sort of history with such a big club? That is remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I always believe that the history is, you know, from my side is respected, and I understand it. But for me, we're trying to create new history with a new team at a new moment. So we're determined to try and do that and create some great memories for our amazing supporters.
Too soon to talk about injuries. I mean, Willock questionable, and Joe Linton. What's the situation with those players?
Yeah, so we think Joe Linton was okay from the weekend. I say we think because, as you say, there's still a long time to go before the game. Joe Willock will be in a race to be fit, but we're hopeful. I think that's it, yeah.
Eddie, I know that you want to keep the focus on the pitch, but it's football mad city. Have you got a sense as to how much this means to Newcastle?
Yeah, from the people that I meet around the city and any interactions I have with supporters, whether that's 6 o'clock in the morning outside the training ground or when I'm leaving, the passion here and the support for their team is truly incredible. So I think the players know the responsibilities that they have to go into a game like this and just try and be the best that we can.
It's been a long time since Newcastle won a major trophy. Is that something that you've discussed with the players, that weight of history on this fixture?
I think in the early rounds we definitely used that. I think as it gets closer to the end of the competition, we've tried to go the other way and take the pressure off the players rather than add pressure onto them. I think it's a very delicate balance in terms of how you prepare psychologically for these games. As I say, when you get to this stage, I think the players know the responsibilities and the pressures that they'll face, so it's a case from my position of trying to take them away and just get them to focus on the match itself.
Yeah, there's lots of off the pitch noise around the ownership and that sort of thing. How much do you think that this game means to the people around the club as well, those people too?
Yeah, I think they're very driven to do the best they can for Newcastle, and from day one I think they've made some great decisions for the future of the club, whether that's developing in the training ground or investing in the squad. Their interactions with us as staff have been very, very good, so they would love to see some reward for that. Not that they're putting pressure on us in a negative way, but I know that they're determined to be successful, short and long term, and hopefully we can give them that.
And last thing, what would you say to thousands of Newcastle fans who travel down to Wembley to watch the game on the weekend? Message for them?
I think my message for them is a massive thank you for everything they've done for us to get us into this position. Thank you for their continued support. I'm sure they will back us in the game, all through the game, right to the end, as they have done in every game this season.
I'm just going to say, Eddie, will you allow the players to see the fans? Like, obviously we're going to be going down there in their vast numbers. You guys travelling down there on Saturday, will you allow them a little glimpse of any of that, or will you try and keep it separate?
That's a difficult question to answer because I don't know quite how that will work, but I would very much embrace that interaction between players and supporters. I know how I felt as a player. I love to see the connection. I love to see people at the games. Playing at Wembley myself many years ago was an amazing experience, and one that I've always remembered, even though it was in a different competition. It was one of the highlights of my career. So, and I loved driving into Wembley and seeing the support we had, and it will be the same for the players. They'll love to see that support. They'll love to see the numbers that have come even without a ticket, which is truly incredible. And I would very much try to create that if we could.
And just looking at the squad, not many of the players have won any like a trophy in their career. Obviously you've got the likes of Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman, who won the league title recently over in France. Will you ask the other players to maybe lean on those experiences, like to try and help them get prepared for what's going to come on the day?
Yeah, possibly. I think there's lots of things we will do and say to the players before the game and in the build-up this week. Kieran immediately springs to mind with some of the experience he's had in his career, and any wise words that he can give the group or other players can give the group, I would again respect and encourage that. But I think the players know, a lot of them experienced enough to know that they need to take care of themselves and make sure they're in the best place they can be to help the team.
And I know I'm sorry, Eddie, I've asked you quite a lot about Loris, but it's just such an extraordinary story. When you first saw him for the first time since the weekend, can you tell us how that conversation went?
Good morning. How are you? I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
English or German?
It's all in English, but very, very normal conversations. I think I spoke to him on Saturday night, and we had a quick conversation just about the situation, and he was aware of what was going on. And then since then, it's just been normal manager to player conversations that I would have with all of the goalkeepers.